we are trying to tell them like the truth about Falun Gong because we felt that they didn't know about us. There's some misunderstanding. But at that moment, I realized they know everything about us, but they just want to crack you down. I told my wife, I said, I probably cannot take care of you anymore. My dream is the end of Communist Party so that China can be free.
Today we have the pleasure of chatting with Professor Zhang Tianliang of Fei Tian College in New York. He's a prolific author, lecturer, and television commentator who mixes a keen eye for world politics with in-depth knowledge of traditional Chinese culture. I'm Leeshai Lemish, and this is Shenyun Voices. Professor Zhang, it's so good to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
I know you're really, really busy. I mean, you have, your YouTube channel that you're on pretty much every day. You're publishing books, you're teaching. So tell me a bit about how did you end up becoming a professor at Fei Tian?
Long story short, Fei Tian was established in 2006. So at that time, I was still teaching in George Mason University back in DC. I saw a voicemail on my cell phone. It was Dr. Ying Li, is a Chinese language teacher, who asked me whether I can come here and to give some lectures on Chinese civilization. Initially, it was just Fei Tian Academy of Arts.
Right, this is high school.
Yeah, now they need to have a Fei Tian college.
So they're trying to get accreditation at this point.
At that point, the main thing is just to give some AP courses so that you have some like a college level courses on record. And then you can use that to apply for a license.
And this is with New York State, or is it federal?
New York State. So, because in America, there are 6 institutions that can accredite a university, and they can also authorize you to have a college. This is really important for us because Fei Tian College needs to have some international students. Without that accreditation, then you cannot issue I-20. So that was very serious.
Right. So you were coming over like part-time?
Yes. At that time, like I teach 1 course per semester, like as an adjunct professor.
At the time, you were like doing commentary on TV shows. I remember seeing you on TV quite a lot back then.
At that time, I have to physically be present in the TV station. So I took a bus, from DC to New York City.
This is a Chinatown bus?
Yeah, the Chinatown bus.
So you'd go, you do the show, and then you go and teach for the weekend and go back to your day job at George Mason.
Yeah.
Now, how did you end up at George Mason? When did you do all your education in China? Where was your education that you did yourself?
So when I was in China, I went to college when I was 16 years old. So I graduated when I was 20.
Which college did you go to?
It's called Beijing University of Post and Telecommunications. At my time, to enter a college is really a big deal. So you need to take college entrance examination. But at the time, probably only maybe 5% of the people of my age will go to college. That was in 1989. So at that time, 1989, what happened in China.
It's an important year in China.
The Tiananmen massacre. So I was a high school student. And then after the examination, I know that I can be admitted by any university in China. But because Tsinghua University and Peking University, they are like the hub of the Tiananmen movement. So it's kind of dangerous. And then when you go there, you have to go to military for 1 year of military training before you can take courses.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
at both these universities. Is this still the policy now?
I'm not sure about the policy now, but at that time you have to go to military. So I don't want to waste that amount of time. So then I took Beijing University of Post and Telecommunications. My major was computer and electrical engineering. So that is very easy to find a job, find a very good pay job in China.
Yeah. Where did you do your PhD?
George Mason. So yeah, I graduated in 1993 and then joined a joint venture company. Is Siemens and some, state-owned company.
In Beijing?
In Beijing, yeah. And then I think this was a very good opportunity for me to open my eyes. We have many opportunities to go abroad. So you have opportunities to explore many different cultures, in many countries in the world. So, I enjoyed my life. I felt it was quite good, After 7 years, in year 1999, actually, the persecution of Falun Gong started.
Were you practicing Falun Gong already at that time?
Yeah, I started in 1995.
It's pretty early.
Yeah, comparing to people here. But in China, you know.
Well, because it was only introduced in 1992, so.
Yes. I think in 1995, maybe millions of people have already started. Because of my family, you know, my mother, she had a very serious health problem. And then maybe she retired when she was only 45 years old. And then she moved to Beijing with my father. Probably, I think like she was looking around, you know, trying to find cure. Somebody introduced her to this practice.
So she started practicing Falun Gong first, and then she started seeing health benefits, and then
yeah.
Did your father and yourself start practicing too?
Yeah, I think like after my mother recovered, and my father saw this miracle, and he started to practice. And then they introduced this to me, and then I introduced it to my girlfriend. So this is like just by word of mouth.
What appealed to you about it? Because were you having any health issues? What was of interest to you?
So when I first read the book, it's really the teachings for a human being. I feel like we have like three aspects to look at one person. One is the emotional side, like you feel happy, you feel sad. And then the other side is your rational, you know, right or wrong. But the third aspect to look at the person is the spirituality. So I feel like that part, you know, the third, the spiritual thing just hit me. I think that's the spirituality of the teaching just struck me.
So something about it resonated with you and
yeah,
appealed to you in some way?
Yeah. I think like when I was young, I read a lot. But when I read the teachings of Falun Gong, it just resonated with my heart. So,
the whole family's practicing, your girlfriend as well. And then 1999 comes along. What were you doing? Do you remember when you found out that the persecution was starting?
I think the harassment on Falun Gong started many years ago. Like in 1995, I heard some stories, but I didn't personally experience that. But in 1996, I know there was an article published on Guangming Ribao. So
Guangming Daily.
Yeah, they defamed Falun Gong. So I saw the newspaper, then I didn't pay too much attention. I feel, so what? You know, even if you disagree with me, as long as I can practice, I'm fine with that.
This is a state-run paper.
Yeah. But, you know, I'm not that sensitive on politics. So I just feel like you can criticize, but I can still practice.
You didn't think it was a sign of something more to come?
No, not at all. So because I feel like after this Deng Xiaoping's open and reform, I feel like China is already kind of free country. The government may not agree with you on everything, but the government will not interfere you. So that's how I felt. And then in 1998 in Beijing, you know, the TV station start to criticize Falun Gong. And then I know a lot of practitioners, they went to the Beijing station and tried to tell them the truth. And then they corrected this problem. So I feel like everything is...
They issued like another news broadcast?
Yeah, I think they issued a new broadcast and then say something positive on Falun Gong. That's acceptable. So we were back to peace, and then we continued to practice. But in 1999, in Tianjin, a magazine started to demonize Falun Gong again. And then a lot of practitioners went there, and they were trying to ask the publisher to correct the issue, to correct the wrong report. Then they were surrounded, they were arrested, and some of them were beaten. And then I received a phone call from my mom. They said that the next day they're going to appeal to the central government. Are you coming? I said, for sure. The government is to serve the people. So that's what in my mind about the CCP. I feel, okay, they are there to serve the people, so it's time to have a conversation. So my wife and I, and also actually my mother, my father, my sister, we went to Zhongnanhai on April 25th.
This is the compound in the middle of Beijing where the central government's located.
Right. So I was just stood not quite far away from the main entrance. So we went there quite early, and then at about 10 o'clock, I hear applause, you know, from people around me. So I looked up, and then I saw Premier Zhu Rongji came out of Zhongnanhai. I think like one detail, you know, that is we need to pay attention to. Zhu Rongji came out by himself without a bodyguard. Apparently, Zhu Rongji knew us very well. They know that we are nonviolent, we are not causing him any trouble. Zhu Rongji basically said, so we need to talk, but this is not a place for conversation. So who is like the leader? Who is the responsible person?
Like a representative.
Yeah, and then we say we have no leader, so we are just coming here voluntarily. And Zhu Rongji said, then who wants to go in with me? And a lot of people raised their hands, and Zhu Rongji randomly picked a few people, and then these people entered Zhongnanhai with him. So just after, very quickly, probably less than half an hour, these people came out. So that was in the morning. So, and then in the afternoon, the atmosphere, you can feel it's changed. Suddenly, like a group of military people or armed police just ran out of Zhongnanhai and stood in front of us. They were quite close to each other. Looks like somebody big, is coming out. So we can feel like Jiang Zemin is coming out because
he's party chairman at the time.
He's the we call the general secretary of CCP. So after the armed police lined up for maybe an hour or even longer than that, several cars came out of Zhongnanhai. The speed was very high, and just drive to the south. And then the armed police left. But like there's no result, so we don't know what's going on. So we wait until about 7 or 8 p.m. And then somebody, I don't know who they are, told us that the problem has been resolved and we can go home. So that's the story. So that's what happened on April 25th, 1999.
And then what happened? Where were you July 20th or July 22nd when the persecution was really started?
Yeah, I was in Beijing. I remember in June 1999, I found a website. It's called Minghui. That website was up online. And then I started to get news about Falun Gong from there. In July, there was we call it Cultivation Experience Sharing Conference in Europe. So my wife and I went there. During the conference, people said to me that the central government is planning on something, on crackdown. So I still felt hard to believe. I feel like, CCP called the government the people's government. So I feel like white people's government is cracking down people. And then on July the 20th, I read the Minghui. I opened the Minghui. Then I saw like a lot of people were arrested. So I was quite confused. I didn't know what to do. So in the evening, I called my mom. I told her about that. And then they said that they will appeal to the government the next day. That's July the 21st. Then I asked for one-day leave. And my wife and I went to Tiananmen Square and then we tried to enter Zhongnanhai. But it's all blocked, so you cannot enter. So we walk on the street. And then we saw maybe 3 or 4 trucks of soldiers with guns in their hand. And they were staring at us, and then the truck passed in front of us. We had no way to go, and I called my mom, asked her where she was, and she said she was just thrown on a bus, and the bus took them somewhere in suburban area and just let them go. So basically they just try to put people...
scatter people everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere, to make sure that you're no longer trying to talk to the government. And we said, okay, so this is not a way to solve the problem. So we went home and we said, okay, tomorrow we give it another try. So the next morning we went to Tiananmen. It's still blocked. You cannot enter Zhongnanhai. And then buses came and they bused us to suburban area. But this time they didn't let us go. They put us in a compound and locked the door. And then we tried to talk to the staffers there, try to talk to them and tell them like what's going on, why this is wrong. And they refused to talk to us. They said, okay, wait until 3 p.m. So you watch the TV.
They had TV set up there at this conference hall?
Yeah. The TV set up there, the door is locked, so you cannot go out. And then at 3 o'clock, I remember that it was some like ordinary program, just like nothing happened. It's talking about some farmers raising pigs, something like that. But suddenly at 3 p.m. and then all the signals were cut off. All the channels, start to broadcast the program. That program, marks the beginning of the persecution. The first of all is propaganda, brainwashing. They tell you how bad Falun Gong is and how bad the founder is. One thing that really struck me, they said the founder of Falun Gong is talking about the doomsday, the end of civilization. I said, that's not true. I heard the original version. He meant that doomsday does not exist. But, in the TV, in their version on the TV, they cut the word out. So I was so shocked. I feel, they know everything about us. So we are trying to tell them like the truth about Falun Gong because we felt that they didn't know about us. There's some misunderstanding. But at that moment, I realized they know everything about us, but they just want to crack you down. So that's why they cut this frame, not just cut that word out.
Were you there with your wife as well?
Yeah. So I thought like probably after that, we'll be in prison. So I told my wife, I said, I probably cannot take care of you anymore. I said, like, please get close to my mom, my sister, and hopefully, they can take care of you.
This is what you were saying to her in this conference room as they're broadcasting this.
Yeah. After that, I think that program was about 30 minutes. After that, we got out of the hall and then stood in the yard, and then they start to register our names. So then I told her,
What did she say?
She teared up. She didn't say anything. She teared up, and then she held my arm. So that's what happened. And then they start to register one by one. I don't want my names to be taken. So then I just went there, and they said, have you registered? I said, just now you pass around the paper inside the hall, so why do it a second time? And that person just looked at me suspiciously, but still let me go. So then my wife and I went back to our home. That was July 22nd. So I felt that what to do next. It seems like the conversation doesn't help. So what to do next? So at that time, actually, I made up my mind. So I will tell people around me about the truth. They may be fooled by the propaganda. So that's the thing I wanted to do. That's the first thing I wanted to do. And the second thing is, my wife's father is a colonel from military. My father-in-law was quite clear that the government can do anything. He does not necessarily agree with the government, but they know it's very dangerous. And then he said, my daughter married you. You need to be responsible for her. So the subtext is that you cannot practice, otherwise your family will be torn apart, and then you may die, and my daughter may die. And then I told him, I said, Dad, I can assure you for one thing. I will take her to other countries, a free country. I will make sure that she has freedom of practice. So her father was very shocked and became speechless. She probably never thought that her daughter will leave him, for some time. He may never see her again in person. And then from that night, so I made up my mind that I have to leave this country. So I start to took TOEFL exam, GRE exam, apply for admission here in the United States. It took me about half a year to finish all the exams. And then during that half a year, a lot of things happened. My mother was jailed. She was jailed for like 15 days for the first time. And the second time, she was put in labor camp for a year. That was in April, I believe, 2000. And then my father was jailed for 12 days, my sister nearly a month. So like my whole family, only me and my wife were still free. So my company was very supportive because it's a joint venture company. The CEO is a German guy. So he was very supportive. And then I think at that time, every morning when I left home, it's like you're saying goodbye to your wife and you may not come back. But I still feel like it's my obligation to tell people what's going on. They shouldn't be cheated by the government. So like I talk to my classmates, my friends, my colleagues, my relatives, almost everyone. And then in April, after my family, like my father, mother, my sister were all jailed, I feel like we need the media. So I need to have some way to tell more people. And then I contact the editor of Minghui, saying like, if there's anything I can do for you. And then at that time, they asked me to be their translators, because at that time, a lot of people go to Tiananmen to protest. And then Minghui said that there are a lot of media coverage, maybe 3-5 articles from maybe AP, AFP, from some other major media, mainstream media. So can you be the translator, translate it into Chinese? I said, sure. So from that time, I almost do one article every day. Suddenly in June, I received a letter from the Minghui editor who asked me, am I ready to go to the United States? I was quite shocked. Actually, at that time, I was already admitted by George Mason University. So I said, for sure. I asked for an I-20, and at that time, it's very hard to get a visa to the United States. So a lot of people, a lot of friends around us just warn us, say, okay, so if you take your wife to go to the United States, they will feel like you will not coming back. So It's very hard to get a visa. My wife said, maybe you go first and I go later. I said to her, I said, no, if you don't go, I don't go. So we have to go together. So fortunately, we got a visa in August, and then we came to the United States.
Do you remember the day when you said goodbye to her father?
Yeah, her father was okay. He's a man. He's from military. He looks very strong, but her mother was very, very upset. Yeah, her mother just keep crying and cannot stop. So, and her sister was, they were all very sad. My father was also kind of sad, but he didn't say that. At that time, my mom was still in the labor camp. So I tried to visit her before I leave, but then before I entered the gate of the labor camp, the police asked me, do you practice Falun Gong? I said, yes. And he said, then you cannot enter. So at that time, it's already very dangerous for me. But I think the focus of the government was still on the people who went to Tiananmen Square.
So they didn't arrest you right then? They put you in a labor camp too?
Yeah, they didn't arrest me and put me in the labor camp. But they said, you cannot go.
But, so you didn't see her?
But then my name is already on their list.
Yeah. Did your wife see her father again after that?
Yeah, her father came to visit her in 2005, stay here for about a month, and then her father came here again in 2010. So we stayed together for nearly 3 months. And after her father went back China, in half a year, her father passed. And then she took her passport to the Chinese embassy, trying to renew that. They looked at her name and they knew that her name on the list, and they just cut the passport.
Just destroyed it.
Yeah, destroyed it and gave it back to her, threw it back to her. So then she has no passport and she could not go abroad. 1 month after that, she got her U.S. citizenship and got a U.S. passport.
But would she have gone back to China to see him with a U.S. passport?
No. Her father, in 2010, her father came here, and it's a final talk between the father and the daughter. Her father said to her, I know that you are a very good girl. I know you are very good to us. And he said, no matter what happened to me, to the family, you don't go back to China. Because you are going back, and then you cannot see me. You will be in prison first. And then we cannot see you either. Her father said, don't go back. So that's, she was very sad, but, that's the way it is. I remember on the day when we saw her parents off in the airport, we didn't know, maybe her father has already known something, maybe some intuition, and told her that's the last time he
Wow.
would see his daughter. So his father cried. So that's the first time I saw his father cried when he took the escalator, going down. So then I didn't realize that. So I just tell her father, I said, look, so Lulu will get, my wife, so I said, Lulu will get a U.S. citizenship, and then he can apply for green card for you, so you can live here half a year, back to China half a year, so you will see her frequently. Her father just cried.
We talk about the persecution in the news and articles. People think about organ harvesting. They think about hundreds of thousands of people in labor camps and torture. And I mean, your story, there's nothing all that dramatic about, your mom was arrested, put a year in labor camp, very common in a way.
Yeah.
But then you see how it affects all these people in all these ways. A daughter cannot go see her father for a last time.
Right.
Elderly parents passing away, children getting married, not seeing their grandkids, just not being able to travel back to China.
Yeah.
25 years now. What made you decide to jump on a project with a brand new school, a brand new college, and start with it from zero?
Yeah, I guess that's the sense of mission. I feel like there is something I need to do. When I came here, I resumed the contact with the Minghui editor and starting to be the translator. I'm very good at writing, I have to say.
You are?
Yeah.
How many books have you published by now?
7, 8, maybe 8 books already.
What are they about, just for people who haven't?
Chinese history, and some of them about my... One is like a full-length novel about my story. Maybe 95% are true, but there are like some...
But it's about you and your wife, right?
About our love story, about the persecution, about what we experienced in the first year before I came to the United States. Maybe 5% of them were fake because I don't want to, endanger my friends and colleagues,
right, so
because
I
talk about so I mix their personal characters, I mix their experiences together,
Yeah.
But the baseline, is what happened.
And what were your other books about?
Other books about Chinese civilization. Another 5 books are the history series of Chinese history. At that time, a lot of projects were established by Falun Gong practitioners, like the TV station, like some newspaper, like some projects to bring Jiang Zemin to justice.
Rescuing orphans out of China, that was a project.
Yeah.
Don't know how far it got, but that was a big attempt.
Right. And also about the oil painting exhibition.
Right.
The Zhenshan
all with the purpose of telling people what's happening in China.
Right. After I came to the United States, I have been wondering why the persecution starts. Why the CCP has to crack down on us. There must be a reason. It can't just be explained by Jiang Zemin's personal jealousy. Without the whole state machine, he cannot persecute us he himself.
Because the first explanation people often talked about was, he was jealous of how many people are practicing Falun Gong, more than the members of the Communist Party, right? He even said, if the Communist Party doesn't crush Falun Gong, it'll appear as the biggest embarrassment to the Chinese Communist Party and a failure of Marxism even.
Right. And he felt that Falun Gong is everywhere, in his government, in the military, everywhere. And then he wrote a letter on that night, April 25th. There are 2 reasons he explained to the Politburo why the persecution must be done. The first reason, as you said, Falun Gong outnumbered CCP. And second reason is they believe in something other than the communism. So if he feel is like a challenge to this ideology. So at that time, it's like a rumor, why he persecuted is like a rumor passing around. But in 2006, Hu Jintao published Jiang Zemin's article, collection of his articles, and this letter was in the book. So then you can read it. It's now public information. He talked about that 2 reasons. But that's just very superficial. So I still didn't understand, why even he himself wanted to crack down, but why people just follow him. I feel like there must be other reasons So after I came to United States, I did a lot of research and reading on Chinese history, culture. I feel like there's one of the reason when you talk about this ideology conflict, one of the reasons is Falun Gong is really deeply rooted in traditional Chinese culture. So my personal explanation is like Chinese culture has three pillars: the Buddhism, Taoism, and Confucianism. They're like three pillars, supporting this whole building. But Jiang Zemin and the Chinese Communist Party, the whole ruling is based on atheism, the theory of evolution, atheism. And so if you have believe in God, and then you want to hold your party based on atheism, that's the fundamental conflict of ideology. So then to make your ideology to stand up, you have to destroy all your enemies. So Buddhism, Taoism, Confucianism need to be destroyed.
So that goes back to the Cultural Revolution even.
That
before
answered my question, why Communist Party has to launch this Cultural Revolution to destroy all those traditional values. But the problem is like they are so brutal to people. I mean, they are so cruel to people. They persecute. They say, okay, to reach this communism, so we have to go through like a river of blood. We have to kill many people. All the people who are against us needs to be removed so that we can reach.
Just a sacrifice on the way.
Yeah, reach that point. So I started to realize that after the persecution started. I never thought about that. But if you believe in Falun Gong, the principles of Falun Gong, truthfulness, compassion, tolerance. So you feel like the ideology of CCP is directly against Falun Gong teachings. So that's why it happens. So, and then the traditional culture is a manifestation of all those traditional values. And Chinese Communist Party, they are trying to destroy these values. They have to establish their own culture. And this culture, so communism is here, ideology, and then this is reality. They need to build up their own culture. This is called the CCP culture or party culture. So, and then the party culture and this traditional culture, they are in direct conflict too. Not only this ideology side, but also the cultural conflict is also there. So then I suddenly feel like if we can restore this traditional culture, the party culture will be gone, and the politics rooted in this culture will also be gone. It will be dissolved peacefully. So after the party culture is gone, then the Communist Party will be gone. So this is like a kind of peaceful solution. How China will be transitioned to a free world without shedding blood. So this is what I believe. I mean, it may not necessarily be 100% correct, but I believe, the power of the culture, change people from within and peacefully.
So as you're doing all this writing, you're writing books about this, you're speaking about this, you're a guest commentator and analyst, what made you then decide that what you need to do next is be an educator?
I mean, the next thing I feel I need to do is doing my best to revive the traditional culture. And the mission of Shen Yun was to revive the culture that was destroyed by the Communist Party. I feel, okay, that's it. So I hope I can do something for that. I was kind of quite excited. So I feel, okay, so I was very eager to join this effort. So yeah, that's how it started.
So what is it about Fei Tian Academy or Fei Tian College that continues to engage you? I mean, you've been there for now 15 years, right?
Yes.
You've typically moved very fast and developed a lot of things, but you've stuck with this for a long time. Why?
I think Fei Tian, I saw many talented artists here, and I feel like the production every year is stunning. It's very beautiful, and then it's presented in front of millions of audience. So I feel like when you talk about Chinese culture, no matter how you say that, no matter how you describe that, it's still quite abstract. But Shen Yun is putting the culture right in front of your eyes. You can see it, you can touch it, you can feel it, and you know how beautiful it is. So I hope I can contribute as much as I can.
How would you introduce Fei Tian and what kind of school it is to somebody who doesn't know anything about it?
Fei Tian, there are two parts. One part is Fei Tian Academy of the Arts.
It's a high school.
It's a high school, so people will receive, students there will receive a high school diploma. Fei Tian is FTAA, we call it FTA, Fei Tian Academy of Arts, is also accredited. So it means like it's like a normal boarding school, a high school.
It combines arts and academics.
Yes. In 2010, I came here and I started to work together with the team, to try to establish the Fei Tian College.
So when was that one accredited?
In 2011. 2010, the first group of people from NYSED came to visit us. They were impressed. So the NYSED accredited us because the major Fei Tian College offer is classical Chinese dance and also the music, that integrate the best part of the Western music and Eastern music. So these two majors were very unique.
So these Bachelors of Fine Arts?
Yeah, Bachelor
BFAs.
of Fine Arts, BFA, and BM, Bachelor of Music. They were very impressed. And so in 2010, they came here to visit the school. And then in 2011, in summer, they gave us this license so that we can issue I-20.
So how's Fei Tian College different from other boarding schools?
Fei Tian really emphasize on those moral values. I feel like education is not about to teach you some skill, how to be a good engineer or like a good scientist in society, but also to be a good person. So I remember Socrates has a saying, the purpose of education is to perfect one's character. And this is very similar to Confucius' idea. Confucius also said similar things, very, very similar. So I feel like education is about to build up a person instead of just building up some skills. And Fei Tian emphasize on those moral values.
So what does that look like in daily life?
I think like American higher education, at least initially the purpose is to build well-rounded citizens. So that's what Fei Tian College is doing. Remember that when we were accredited in 2022, the accrediting institution is called NECHI. It's the New England Commission of Higher Education.
So this is no longer New York State.
It's no longer New York State. And New England is, the institution that accreditates Harvard, Yale, those prestigious universities.
So do you have to go through the accreditation process multiple times? Because you already accredited earlier on, like in 2011, you said.
Yes, but that accreditation expires every 5 or 10 years.
So every 5, 10 years, you got to go through it again?
You have to renew that.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to renew that. I remember one member from that team gave us a summary before she left. I guess that's the highest compliment you can get. She said, if I have a kid and if he asks me where to go, I will recommend Fei Tian.
Why?
Let me tell you why. So we hold the traditional values. We have these principles of Falun Gong as our moral compass. And we also practice the values, not just by those words, but like by our behavior, by our daily behavior. And students are learning, from this environment.
So how does this play out in daily life at Fei Tian College? How is their daily routine and how to go about their life? They have dance class, right? They have rehearsals and they have academics. How does, in all the busyness of all that, how does traditional culture come into play?
Usually they spend half a day on the major courses and half a day on general education courses. So in these general education courses, they can learn those values, they can learn the history, and they are enriched by the humanity. And then in the evening sometime, and they will read the Falun Gong teaching. And then I guess like a very important part is when anything or conflict happens, and people will look inward to see if there's anything I can do better. So I guess that's how they became a better person.
What is the biggest challenge for you as a professor at Fei Tian College?
The biggest challenge is the time. So need to teach. Usually the number of hours you spend in class is a third of the number of hours you need for the course. I guess it's kind of 3 full-time jobs.
So you got your academic work, which includes teaching and admin and all your different hats. You got your YouTube channel, your fundraising, your writing books.
Yeah.
But when things get hard, do you have moments when it's hard and you feel tired? What keeps you going?
I think many things. I feel like the students is one of my source of energy. The students, they are eager to learn, and you really want to teach them. And another source of energy is like a mission-driven. I feel like I need to do something. I need to really interpret Chinese civilization from a different perspective because I'm not happy with or unsatisfied with what we have, in society. The third one is from my audience. And I can see their comments under my program. And some of the people, they gave me very heartfelt comments. It's very touching, very encouraging. So I feel like, I like to do something for them.
Mm. What's your biggest dream right now?
My dream, if you talk about that, so in reality, my dream is the end of Communist Party so that China can be free. So I believe like in mainland China, there are a lot of people who are more talented than me, and there are a lot of people, they can do much more than what I do here. But the problem is they are locked in this country and they don't have the freedom of speech. I hope one day when CCP is gone, China becomes free and these people can bring their talents into full display. Mm. So probably at that time I won't need to be that busy, so they can do the job, so I can enjoy my life.
Spend time with your wife more.
Yeah.
For people who have not learned much about traditional Chinese culture, let's say, non-Chinese people who are curious about it, where would you recommend they start?
I wrote a book on Chinese civilization. It was translated into English. Not quite sure if people will be interested in that.
Is it on Amazon?
It's not on Amazon. It's on my nonprofit organization website.
What are you most grateful for?
As a man of faith, I believe God is behind everything, including the civilization we see here, including all those traditional values, how it is manifested, how it is played out along history. I feel like all the things behind them is the God. Even when I look at my wife, I feel like she's a perfect match to me. She's very supportive, and she is my soulmate. And she inspired me in many ways. I feel like God arranged this marriage, and so that she can help me. So when I look around, so I feel like everything I have, I need to be grateful, and I really thank God for that.
Well, thank you very much for coming today. It's really nice to talk to you.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I think we should talk again some more and geek out a little bit about some of the traditional stories that we have in the performance. I'm really curious to get your perspective on those. We'll save that for another time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.